We continue now at the top of Daf Ayin Hayam and Beis and Meseches Bava Metzia. This is Bava Metzia Daf 75b. The Mishnah continues, Kol Yemei Grid Echad, all of the days of the dry season, meaning the summer season, that's all considered to be the same thing, meaning if they make an arrangement, they say, you work my field, and this day in the summer season, then I'll do the same work for your field, on this particular day in the summer season, that's all considered the same, that's fine. Kol Yemei Revia Achas, also all of the days of the rainy season, that's also fine. If he says, you do work for me on this day of the rainy season, and I'll do work for you on another day in the rainy season, that's going to be fine. Rashi explains, Kol Yemei Grid Echad Heim, they're all one. V'lo diktiku b'davar, we're not so particular, Locha Shema Yom Echad Yei Aruch Mechaver, that we should be concerned. Maybe one summer day is longer than another one. O Kasha Mechaver, maybe the weather's worse. O Elamutter Lomar Lo, rather it's mutter to say, Adur Imi Hayom Hazeh Shel Grid, that you should do this work for me on this particular day in the dry season. Ve'eder Imcha B'Yom Ploni Shel Grid, I'll do the same work for you on this other day in the dry season. That's fine. Rashi says grid is Lashon Yovish. That's the idea that again it's the dry season. V'chol Yemei Revi, and all the days of the rainy season, Chashuv and Ke'echad, that's also considered all to be the same thing. And so therefore, again, such an arrangement would be mutter. And the Mishnah continues, Lo Yomar Lo, he should not say to him, Charosh Imi Begrid, you plow with me in the dry season, Vani Echrosh Imcha Berevia, and then I'll plow with you in the rainy season. That's already going to be a problem, because those days are considered to be different. Rashi says, Lo Yomar Lo Charosh Imi Begrid, Vani Echrosh Imcha Berevia. He should not say to him, plow with me in the dry season and I'll plow with you in the rainy season. Sheyimei revia kashan lemelacha b'sadas, because it's harder to do work in the field in the rainy season. That would not be an equal exchange. That would be a problem of ribbis. And the Mishnah continues, Rabbi Gamliel says, Yesh ribis mukdemes v'yesh ribis mucheres. Sometimes you can have ribis in advance, and sometimes you can have ribis that's delayed. Ketzad how so? Nasan einav lalavos heimenu. Let's say a person, he wants to borrow from somebody. V'umeshaleach lo, he sends him something. V'yomer, he says, Bishvil shatalveni. The reason why I'm giving you this is in order that you lend me money. Zuhi ribis mukdemes. That would be like ribis in advance. Lava heimenu. Let's say he already borrowed from him. V'echzer lo esmaosav. He returns the money. V'umeshaleach lo, and he sends him something. V'yomer, and he says, Bishvil mosecha shri b'telos etzli. It's because of the fact that you let me have that money for that amount of time. That's why I'm sending you this extra item. Zuhi ribis mucheres. This would be an example of delayed ribis. Rabbi Shimon says, Yesh ribis devorim. There is ribis in words. Lo yomar lo, person shouldn't say to him, Da ki bo ish ploni, mimakam ploni, you should know, so-and-so is coming from such a place. Essentially, by giving him this information, that's like extra that he's giving him, that could be like ribis. And the Mishnah continues, Ve'elu over and below say the following transgress the negative commandment or a negative commandment if they're involved in ribis. Hamalve, v'halova, the lender and the borrower, v'ha'orev, the guarantor, v'ha'edim, and the witnesses, v'chachamim omer, and the chachamim say, afa sofer, even the scribe. And what do they transgress? Over mishum lo sitein, they transgress lo sitein, umishum al tikach meito, in the pasuk al tikach meito, umishum lo tzia lo kenosha, that you shouldn't go and try to collect from the person, make him uncomfortable in collecting the loan, umishum velo sesimun olav neshech, and this idea of, again, net neshech, interest, umishum velifnei iver lo sitein michshol, there can also be a violation of putting a stumbling block in front of the blind, v'yaresim lokach ani Hashem, you have to fear Hashem. And Rashi explains, al lo sitein lo, as kasbecha lo sitein lo beneshech. That refers to the pasuk that you shouldn't give your money with interest. Over now bal titen ve'al lo sikach, you transgress these various commandments. Kol chad v'chad mai d'shayich bein. Now Rashi, no, it's not that everyone transgresses every violation. Each individual listed in the Mishnah, whatever is relevant to him, can mefarish beGemara, as the Gemara will explain. And the Gemara says, Tanya, we learned in a brayso, so Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai Omer, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai says, Minayin lanosha b'chaver mana. How do you know if one person owes another person a mana? Ve'ino raga lahaktim lo shalom. He generally doesn't give shalom to this person. Sha'asr lahaktim lo shalom. It's asr for him to give shalom. That would be like giving interest. He's doing something extra for the person who lent him money. How do you know that's a problem? Talmud Lomar, the pasuk says, Neshech kol davar asher yishach. We learn from kol davar afilu dibor asr, that even speech can be prohibited. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, V'yelu over in the following transgress. Amar Abaya says, Malva over bekulan. The lender transgresses all of them. Lova over mishum lo sashich liachicha uliachicha lo sashich v'lifnei iver lo sitein michshol. The borrower transgresses lo sashich and uliachicha lo sashich, and also lifnei iver, putting a stumbling block in front of the blind. Arev ha'edem ein over and ela mishum lo sasimun olav neshech. The guarantor and the witnesses, they only transgress lo sasimun olav neshech. And the Gemara continues, Tanya, we learned in a brayso, Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon says, Malve ribis, when it comes to those who lend with interest, Yosem rimash marvichim, the more than what they profit, mafsidim, they actually lose out, meaning they lose more than they profit. V'lo not only that, they make it as if Moshe Rabbeinu is a chacham, is a wise person, and his Torah is true. Rashi is going to say this is a euphemism. It's the opposite. They're making it as though Moshe Rabbeinu is not a chacham. And they're saying, Ilu haya yodea Moshe Rabbeinu sheyeh revach bedavar. Had Moshe Rabbeinu known there was profit in this, lo haya kosvo, he never would have written this. And the Gemara continues, Ki asa Rav Dimi Yamar, when Rav Dimi came, he said, Minayin l'nosha b'chaveiro moneh v'yodea she'ein lo. How do we know that if a person is owed by another person a money, and he knows the borrower doesn't have the money, she'asr la'avar l'fanav, it's asr for him to pass by in front of him, to be in front of him, because again, it makes him uncomfortable that this person is, that this creditor is in front of the borrower. Tam v'lomer, the pasuk says, Lo siya lo kanoshi, you shouldn't be like a creditor to him. That's what the pasuk is referring to. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Ami Rabbi Asi, the Amri Tarvayu, Rabbi Ami and Rabbi Asi, they both say, Ki ilu donu b'shnei dinin. Somebody who does this, he's going to be judged in two judgments. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Hirkavta enosh l'roshenu banu ba'eshu v'mayim. L'roshenu really means like to our head, but we darshan it as a nosha, as somebody who's like a creditor, and it's banu ba'eshu v'mayim, there's going to be a punishment of fire and water. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Yehuda Marav. Rav Yehuda says, the Rav says, Kol mi sheyesh lo mos, anybody who has money, umalvo san shelo be'edim, and he lends out that money without witnesses, over mishum v'lifnei iver lo sitin michshol, he transgresses, putting a stumbling block in front of the blind. You're essentially enticing the person almost to deny that he owes you the money. Reish Lakish, Amar Reish Lakish says, Gorim klol liatzmo, he causes a curse upon himself, because if the person does deny the money, people will believe that, they'll curse the lender, and therefore he's causing himself to be cursed. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Lamna sifsei sheker hadovros al tzadik osuk. The pasuk is talking about those who speak disparagingly about the righteous, and that's the idea over here. This person is causing a curse to come upon himself, again, when the borrower denies the loan, and people believe that and curse the lender. And we will take a look at Rashi, Malva over Bekula, and the Malva transgresses all of them, B'chol hani d'chashav b'mas nisan, meaning he transgresses everything listed in the Mishnah, D'hu nosin b'neshach b'shas halva, because he gives with interest at the time of the loan, V'hu lokech b'shas piron, he takes the interest at the time of the payment, V'hu lo kenosha k'shatovo v'dochko, he's also like a creditor, he acts like a creditor when he makes the claim from the person and pressures the borrower, V'hu samol of neshach b'shas pisak, he also places the neshach upon him at the time, pisak hatanai, at the time that they set the conditions, V'nosin michshol lefnei halova, also puts a stumbling block in front of the borrower, lahaviro, that he causes the borrower to transgress, alo sashech leachicha she'azar lelova, on the pasuk of lo sashech, which is a warning to the lova. Mafsid, and then the Gemara said that those who do this, they lend with interest, they're going to lose out. Kedamar bepirkin, like we said in our parak, mismotetin liolam, that they're going to falter forever. Moshe chacham lishna ma'alya nakat, saying they make as if Moshe is a wise person. That's actually a euphemism. It means on the contrary, those who lend for ribis, it's like they're saying that Moshe Rabbeinu is not a chacham. Lo siya lo kenoshi, you can't act like a creditor. Lo sira be'inov kenosha bo sheyira v'yevosh, you can't make him embarrassed when you come by to him as a creditor. And Rashi continues, l'rashenu, to our head, lashon nosha, the Gemara darshan is as the language of a creditor. Kedim mitargamin and karshaya harayanu boim be'eshu v'mayim. Again, then there's the punishment of fire and water. And then the Gemara said, over mishum lifnei iver, if you lend without witnesses, that's lifnei iver. Sha'ola al rucho sha'lo v'lichfor, you're essentially enticing the borrower to deny it. And klala, there's also a curse, k'shetovo v'zeh kofar akol, when the lender claims from the borrower and the borrower denies everything, mekalano, so they're going to curse the lender. People will curse the lender. V'yomrin shudover al tzadik osik, and they will say about him, about the lender, that he speaks arrogantly about the righteous. And the Gemara continues, Amru le Rabbanan le Ravashi, the Rabbanan said to Ravashi, Kamakayim Ravina kol ma do Amar Rabbanan, Ravina fulfills everything that the Rabbanan say. So Shalach le Bahade Panya Demale Shabbos, so they wanted to test this, and he sent them the following message as Shabbos was coming, Lishdor li Mar Asar Zuzi disrami li Katina Diar Lamizvan, send me, the master should send me 10 zuz, because I found a small amount of land that I can buy. So Shalach le, so he sent back to him, Nesi Mar Sahadi, you have to bring witnesses, Vinichtov Kis will write up a star, will write up a document. Shalach le, so he sent back to him, Afilu Anonami, even I also have to write up a star, have witnesses. Shalach le, sent back to him, Kol Shekain Mars, all the more so for the master, the Tard Begirse, because he learns a lot, Mishlele, so he's going to forget about it, Vigorim Klala Liatzmi, is going to cause that there would be a curse upon me, and so therefore you see that Ravina did fulfill what the Rabbanan said, that you have to make sure to lend with witnesses. And the Gemara continues, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, Shlosha Tzakin ve'enon nenin, there are 3 that scream out, and they're not answered, ve'elohenan, they are are as follows: Mishayesh lo mos umalvos an shelo be'edim, somebody who has money and he lends it without witnesses, that's a bad thing. V'hakona adon li'atzmo, and if somebody acquires a master for himself, which we will explain, umisha ishto moshel azalav, and if his wife rules over him. The Gemara says, Kona adon li'atzmo mahi. What does it mean that you acquire a master? A person acquires a master for himself. The Gemara says, Ika di'amri, some say that it means tolan nechasa benachri, that he says his property really belongs to the non-Jew. The point over here is he doesn't want to act like he's wealthy, so he says this is really belongs to the Nachri. The problem is that the Nachri might hear that, he'll write up a document, write up with witnesses, and say that it's really his property. Now the Nachri is like his Adon, is like his master if he does that. Ika di'amri, there are those that say, what does it mean to acquire a master for himself? Hakosev nechasav levana b'chayev. Let's say a person writes over his property to his sons during his lifetime, so then it's like they become a master over his property. And finally, Ika di'amri, there are those that say, de bishle b'hamasa v'lo azil l'masa achrisa. Let's say he's unsuccessful in one city and he doesn't go to another city, which really he should do that. He should go to another city where he might find more success. And Rashi explains, Ravina said to Ravashi, Umishtali yishkach halvasi, you might forget my loan, v'egram klala le'atzmi, that's going to cause a curse to me. Tzoakin bebezin shalmata, the following people, they scream out, Rashi says it means in the earthly bezdin. Ve'eino nen, but they're not going to be answered, sharei heim gormo le'atzman, because they caused this bad to themselves. And Rashi continues, Tola ma'osa benachri, if somebody says his money is really the non-Jews, Omer mo'os shani mishtamish ben shel ploni nachremeim. He says the money I'm using really belongs to so-and-so, is not Jewish. Shelo lazbias, he doesn't want to make it look like he's wealthy. Upamim shan nachri shomea, sometimes the non-Jew will hear, Umamid edim, he'll have witnesses present, v'tovo b'dineim, and then he'll take them to their courts, he'll be able to claim the money. Hadron aloch ezehu neshech, we will return to you, Perek ezehu neshech. This is the end of the 5th Perek of Meseches Bava Metzia. If you're enjoying these videos and this channel, please like, share, and subscribe, and take a look at the description box below to see how you can support this channel. And we will now begin the 6th Perek of Meseches Bava Metzia. And the parak begins with the Mishnah, Hasocher so umnin, if one hires the workers, vihitu zeh, and they mislead one another, ein lohem zeh al zeh el taromis, they only have against one another a complaint. Sacher es hachamor v'es hakadar, if somebody hires a donkey driver or a wagon driver, lahavi praifrin v'chalilim, to bring wooden posts or flutes, lakala for the kala, or lameis, or for the dead, upoalin lahalos pishtanom in amishra, workers in order to bring up the flax from where it's soaking, v'chol davar shavar, or anything that represents a loss of money, v'chazru behen, and then the workers retract. So makom she'ein shamadim, let's say it's a situation, a place where you can't find other workers, socher alein, so then you can hire over them, meaning to say you can hire and have them pay whatever the extra cost is, o matan, or you could mislead them in order to get them to complete the job. Hasocher so umnan, if somebody hires an umman v'chazru behen, and then they retract, yodam al atachtona, they have the lower hand. And Rashi explains, Hasocher so umnan v'hitu ze'esef, one hires the craftsman and they mislead one another, mefarish b'gemara, that's explained in the Gemara. Sacher es hachamor es hakadar lahavi praifrin v'chalilim, if he hires donkey drivers or wagon drivers to bring the wooden posts or the flutes. Kador is bal karon. A kador is a person, again, a wagon driver. Kador literally means a potter. They used to bring the pots in the wagons. Praifrin is eitzim meshupim v'noim. It's good pieces of wood. Lasos lo apiryon. You're going to make a canopy for the kala. Chalilim the kala. You're going to have a flute for the kala. L'sameach chasan v'kala, in order to make the chasan and kala happy. Olamesor for the dead. Lakonin, that's as part of the eulogy. Mishra is mayim shashorin b'hen kanvas upishton kashen begivolin. This is the water that they soak the flax in. Mokom she'ein adam, if it's a place where there aren't people around, she'eino motze po'el and liskor, he can't find other workers to hire. V'apishton oven, so then the flax is going to be lost, it's going to be a loss of money. V'usamach alein, he was relying on these workers, so then socher aleim, he can hire upon them, meaning b'nei adam biyoker, he can hire people for more expensive, ve'aleim l'shalem, and they have to pay for that, o matan, or he can mislead them, mefarish b'gemara, that will be explained in the Gemara. Hasocher so umnan, if one hires craftsmen, lasos malocha b'kablonis b'kach v'kach, and uman is a craftsman that you're hiring him to do a job that's called kablonis. You're paying him a certain amount of money to do a particular job, as opposed to a poel who you're paying him for his time. That's a worker that you're paying according to the amount of time that he works. The chazru behen, and then they retract, la'achar sha'asu mixas, meaning they do some of the work and then they retract. And Rashi continues, yodam ala tachtona, so they have the lower hand, meaning to say im hukru poelim. Let's say the price of workers goes up. Ve'enu motzi mishig merenu b'schar she'magil la'elu alo asid lasos. You can't find someone to do the work, to complete the work according to what what you would have paid these workers who retracted. So so you can hold back the wages that you're paying them. Kol mashet starach, everything that you need to pay these future workers. Kol mashet starach everything that you need again to pay these future workers that you're going to hire to complete the job instead. Now let's say it's the other way around. Let's say the price of workers goes down, and you can find people to complete it for less. You can evaluate what work they already did, and then you give them whatever the deal was. If they did half the work, you give them half of the wages. They can't say to him, you could say, you have other workers who can finish the work. Maybe you should give us everything, all of our wages, and just deduct whatever you're paying these other workers. You don't do that. It's always yadam ala tachtona. They always get the lower amount, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Vav Amud Aleph.